Welcome to Church Girl Gang, a podcast where we get to talk about life, living for Jesus, and everything in between, and how that affects us in the here and now. My name is Kenzie, and I'll be your host, and I can't wait to dive into this conversation with you. Hey, Church Girl. My name is Kenzie, and I will be your host for today's podcast. Hey, Church Girl. My name is Kenzie, and I will be your host for today's podcast. Welcome to another episode of the Church Girl Gang podcast. Just so you know, this is a podcast for girls of all ages who love Jesus and want to spend their lives following after him. If this is your first time joining us for the pod, welcome. And let me just tell you, you've got great taste. And before we dive into the rest of today's episode, I want to remind you that you can show your friends what wonderful taste you have by pressing the share button on whatever platform you're on. Post today's episode on your Facebook, your Twitter, if anyone's on Twitter anymore, and even on your Insta story. It is so easy. It literally couldn't be easier. So take a minute and do that right now. So you might notice if you are watching the video version of this podcast that we are in a different room. At the end of the year last year, we did get into a really cool studio space. Unfortunately, it's being fixed up right now. And so we've moved into my office. It's actually my office. So welcome and enjoy the atmosphere. Enjoy the vibes. You know, over the past few weeks, I've been thinking a lot about friendship and really all of my relationships in general. I've just been spending some time thinking about all of that, especially as we're going into the new year. And, you know, as a church girl, I think sometimes it can be hard to sail your boat on the tides of friendship, if you know what I mean. Because some relationships are going to bring you closer to Christ and some relationships are going to pull you further away. And of course, some may not put any wind in your sails at all. And I know for me personally, I've had some incredible friendships over the years. Just friends that have encouraged me, that have supported me, that have celebrated with me, cried with me, prayed with me. I mean, you name it, we have been through it together. And on the other hand, I've also had some really terrible friendships. I've been betrayed, I've been put down, I've been hurt by people that I called my friends. And what I'd like to do today is give you some guidelines for friendships that can help you avoid the hurt and embrace the gift that is available to you through friendships with other people. Now, listen, this isn't foolproof because people are people and every person is going to let you down at some point, right? Because nobody is Jesus, nobody's perfect, and we can definitely talk about dealing with that as well, dealing with hurt in friendship. We're not going to do that in today's episode, so maybe that'll be a discussion for another time, but just know that people are still going to let you down at some point, but this is going to help you find just some healthy guidelines for friendship, some healthy boundaries for friendship and between you and other people that I think are really going to help you. So what I want to do today is talk to you about my 7-layer dip friendship method. Is this a recipe? No, this is not. Well, I mean, this is not a food recipe. This is a recipe for friendship, for warm, ooey gooey chocolate chip friendship. Yeah. That's what I'm gonna call it. This is the 7-layer dip friendship method. But before I get into that, I talked to 2 of my oldest friends today. I've known these 2 guys since I was a kid, and we still hang out all the time. They're brothers. Their names are Josh and Renee Rodriguez, and I asked them to share their earliest memory of us hanging out, or at least an early memory that really stood out to them or that they remembered. So here's that recording. Check it out. The earliest memory that you have.
I'm gonna be honest with you. What I can think of is those really, really long Converse. That's the only thing I can remember.
You're just thinking of what I was wearing.
The penny.
Oh yeah.
The what?
New Year's.
The penny walks.
The penny
We
walks.
gotta get closer.
Or you used to flip a coin like that?
Yes.
Remember we went to,
What do you do on the penny walk? How did that work? Where were we?
We were at your house. It was New Year's Eve, and we would just like walk down. Like you'd start at the
Yeah, you take the coin.
and you just flip it. Left was heads, right was tails, or something like that.
Yeah.
And then you would just walk. Yeah, you just walk, and then you just talk, and you just keep going.
walking.
Yeah, you just keep going until you go in a circle, I guess. I don't know what we were doing, but that was just literally all we did. We did that the entire night until we came back, and it was like New Year's. Yeah.
There you go. That was good. Okay, before we get back to the conversation, I want to take a minute to tell you about one of our sponsors. Now, you've heard me talk about them before, but I cannot tell you enough how excited I am for them. And this sponsor is Connection Christian Academy. Listen, they just started a brand new semester. I was able to hang out with some of the kids, check out what they were doing in their classes recently, and it looks like they're having a blast. But not only that, they are learning so much, not just in regular education wise, but also leadership skills and about Jesus. And so I love that. I'm so excited for CCA. CCA is a K through 5th hybrid homeschool located in beautiful Buda, Texas. Their mission is to provide kids not only with a fantastic learning experience and environment, but also give kids leadership tools that they can use for the rest of their lives while also sharing the love of Christ. With everything going on in the world today, it just seems obvious that kids should be learning in an environment just like this. And it couldn't be easier as the staff has worked hard to make tuition extremely affordable. So, what are you waiting for? If you're in Austin, Hays County, San Marcos, or the surrounding areas, do not hesitate. Head to myconnectionacademy.com for more info and to apply today. I guess the first question we should ask before we talk about what the different layers of friendship is why have different layers of friendship at all? Why not just let everyone be at the same level? I think that there is really like a whole complicated mix of factors that can go into this, including when it comes to the other people, a person's spiritual life, how trustworthy they are, and who they're hanging out with. Also, just like the simple fact of, do your personalities mix well together? Now, I know what some people may be thinking, because I've talked about this before, and I've heard these responses before. Some people might be thinking, but Kenzie, that sounds kind of harsh. Shouldn't we be friends with everyone? Probably most people we can be friends with, but not everyone, and not everyone gets to be a level 1 friend, okay? Maybe someone's asking, but Kenzie, wouldn't Jesus be friends with everyone? You know, Jesus actually had layered friendships as well. Just check out the Gospels, okay? If you remember, Jesus actually traveled with a ton of people for a time, at least. He had all of his followers, right? We even know the names of some of the girls who followed Jesus. This is really cool that we know their names, because it's not all that often that girls get mentioned by name in the Bible. So we'll take it where we can get it, right? So girls like Mary, Joanna, and Susanna, these people were in close proximity to Jesus. They followed him around from place to place. He spoke to them in group settings mostly. I would imagine that he probably spent some time joking and laughing with them. They cared a lot about Jesus, and he cared a lot about them. Then there was another layer that he had, and that was the 12 disciples. You probably remember these guys. They were the ones that did ministry with Jesus. They did a lot of like living with him. They took care of one another, and they really committed to having each other's backs. But it actually didn't end there. He had another layer of friendships. He had 3 guys that he trusted literally with his life. Now, they didn't always do so great at protecting him like they should have. In fact, one time he asked them to stay up with him late into the night and hang out with him while he was praying. And all three of them, their names were Peter, James, and John, ended up falling asleep. And then Jesus ended up being arrested. Crazy. Embarrassing. Okay, if you were his friends, embarrassing. If they were girls, they totally would have gotten their bra frozen at the sleepover because they fell asleep. Hello. And then there was Jesus's BFF. Okay, this was another layer. Jesus had a BFF, his best friend for life. He was actually one of the three that I just mentioned. His name was John. And yes, he wasn't shy about the fact that he was Jesus's BFF. If you look in the book of John, you'll actually see that he called himself the one that Jesus loved. This for sure made the other disciples a little jealous, okay? Especially Peter. But the rivalry actually didn't end there. This is just an aside, but have you ever read about John and Peter's big race? I'm just sharing this because I think it's funny. Let me read this to you from John 23-8. It says, "So Peter and the other disciple started for the tomb. Both were running, but the other disciple outran Peter and reached the tomb first. He bent over and looked in at the strips of linen lying there, but did not go in. Then Simon Peter, who was behind him, arrived and went into the tomb. He saw the strips of linen lying there, as well as the burial cloth that had been around Jesus' head. The cloth was folded up by itself, separate from the linen. Finally, the other disciple, who had reached the tomb first, also went inside. He saw and believed." I just want to point out here that John made sure to write that he reached the tomb first, but he didn't just write it once. He didn't just write it twice, but he said it 3 whole times. And that's a show off. So, bringing it back, obviously Jesus knew the importance of having layers to his friendship in order to protect himself and allow the greatest amount of growth for himself and for others. So let's go through these layers together. This is the recipe for 7-layer dip friendship. So layer number 1. This layer is people that are your friends from a distance. These kinds of people I would identify as like your internet friends, maybe people that you would send a Christmas card to or something like that. You're not really seeing these people. In fact, you might not see them face to face hardly ever. These are people that you know for a fact, no question, you would not question this, that you really shouldn't be hanging out with them. Maybe they seem to get into a lot of trouble, maybe even legal trouble. Maybe you just know that if you hang out with them, you'll start doing things that you shouldn't be doing. Maybe these people have been detrimental to your faith or your health in the past. These people should be like really obviously what I call friends from a distance, because these are the people that you don't want to be friends with, that you personally feel inside, I don't want to be friends with them, like not in the slightest. But I do want to say, these aren't people that you're just like pushing away, which is probably what you're going to be inclined to do with these kinds of people. But what I'm going to encourage you to do is not really even interact with them if you feel like they are not healthy for you to be around. So you don't really need to interact with them, but maybe just if you do see them face to face, be kind, be a friend in the ways that you can, maybe praying for these people or encouraging them. Maybe that's just in your head and your heart. Or if you see something awesome that they posted on Instagram, you can comment on that post, just be kind. But with people who seem to be easily destructive, I would encourage you, don't bring them in closer than that, right? At this level, it's more about being friendly than being a friend. What I'm saying is at this level, you, as with everyone, right? We don't want to be mean. We don't want to be rude to people. So this level is just people that you are friendly with. I'm just encouraging you to be a friendly person, okay? And the next layer number 2, is people that you're friends with in passing, okay? I love all my people that I'm friends with in passing. These are people that I may see at the gym or the store or the dog park. Every time I see these people, I get to hear the updates on their life and what's happened since the last time I've seen them. This level, by the way, is a great launching pad layer to move into layer number 3 or even layer number 4, which we'll get to in a minute. And the reason people in this layer are primed to join you in the next layer or 2 is because they are people that you're just getting to know. You're just feeling it out. And as you talk to them, you can begin to see if you click well and if you find one another interesting. Kind of like the beginning of dating, but with friends. You probably do a lot of small talk here. If you're like me, and this layer is mostly centered on people you meet at the dog park, you're talking about dogs, or also for me at the gym, you're probably talking about the gym, nothing too deep, mostly just like the immediate things that are in front of you. And although it doesn't have to, this can lead you to those people joining you in layer number 3. And layer number 3 is people that you're friends with in group settings. So let's face it, some people are group setting kind of friends. You know the people. Usually for me, this looks like people that you hang out with at church, at your small group, or people that are in your like friend group, right? These people know more about and keep up generally with the goings on of your life. They may know things about you, like maybe that you went to go visit your grandma last week, or that you just tried a new restaurant that you really like. They may even know details about your job or about a recent illness that you had or have, things like that. Here, we're moving into slightly deeper territory, nothing too dangerous, but like a little less shallow than the last layer. And from this layer, you can kick it up a notch into layer number 4. Layer number 4 is a group of friends that you pick to hang out with. Instead of friendships in these safe settings where anyone can really be included at any time without your control, these are the friends that you still might rather have around in like group settings. Maybe they work better in group settings, but you've intentionally decided that you'd like to spend time with these people. And these are the kind of people that you might go to dinner with or even invite over into your home, which for me is a big, big deal. And I hope it's a big deal for you too, because I do feel like the home is the safe space, right? Your home is your safe space. So once we start getting into this territory, we need to begin to get a lot more picky with our friends. And I'm especially talking about spiritually, okay? Hopefully by this point, your personality's feng shui, like you've got that going for you. So you don't have to worry about that. But these people need to be people that are walking along the same path as you, okay? People who are pursuing Christ, who are regularly attending church. For most people, it's a big plus if it's actually your church that they attend. And I will say for me, I find that I do a lot better with this if these people are not just Christ followers, but people who attend my church. And the reason for that is because we're hearing the same messages every week. We're experiencing the same things spiritually, right? And we can kind of connect on that level, talk about that, and grow in that together. And so that's why that is a big deal. These people also need to hold your beliefs or even make your beliefs better, okay? These people need to be people that will pray with you and encourage you in your faith walk. These types of friends will also help you when you're in need. They'll celebrate with you, they'll cry with you, and they'll make you a better person. And I will say, to have that kind of friend, you have to be that kind of friend, okay? So that's very, very important. It can't be a one-sided thing. If you want relationships like that, you've got to do it yourself. Sanctification begins to happen in this layer of friendship, and that's one reason it's so important. In layer 5, you have the close-knit friends that you share your secrets with. This is where you need to be very picky. I mean, you do need to pick, but you should be picky about this. This layer should be a select few people who you trust, who you believe have your back, like your ride or die friends. This is it's kind of like a layer 4 plus, okay? So everything that we just said in the previous layer, that needs to happen in this layer. Plus, you need to be able to trust them with your secrets, with your fears, with your anxieties. These can even be like your prayer warrior people, okay? Just the people that you know you can turn to, and immediately they're like, we've got your back. We're trustworthy. We're keeping your secret, and we are going to actively help you in this, whether that's prayer or physically coming over and helping you with something, okay? This is like when Jesus chose the 3. This is that layer, the inner circle. So like in middle school terms, this isn't just like a play date friendship. This is like a sleepover kind of friendship, okay? And that leads us to layer number 6, which is the BFF. So the BFF is the most of the most. Besides Jesus, this is the person that you can lean on with anything. This isn't just a sleepover kind of friendship. This is like a weeknight sleepover kind of friendship in middle school terms. I think this layer is important just for the sole fact that it's actually scientifically proven that in group settings, people will always pair up. This is totally true. So in your layer 5, not everyone is going to be as close. It's good for you to have a partner in crime kind of person, just the person that you're closest to. And that's okay. Don't feel bad about that. Have a BFF. And then the final layer, which I'm calling the bonus layer, well, it's your family, okay? So we've talked about this before on the podcast, and I know it's not always completely possible for everyone, but I really believe that like blood is thicker than water, that everyone else may go away, but you'll always be tied to your family. So if it's possible, make them your best friends too. I know for me, my family always has my back, and maybe that's true for you, but maybe it's not. In fact, maybe you're not close with your family at all. Everyone has different circumstances, and there's not a one-size-fits-all solution here, but I will say if it is possible and healthy for you to do, I want to encourage you to work on and grow your relationships with your immediate family, okay? I just want to encourage you in that. So here's the beautiful thing about the 7-layer dip friendship. Just like a 7-layer dip, you've got a bunch of different flavors coming together to make something even more amazing. I love 7-layer dip, by the way. You got your beans, your salsa, your guac, cheese, sour cream, lettuce, and if you're me, the final layer is corn. All of these things are good on their own, but when you bring them together, oh my gosh, it's like in Ratatouille. When he eats a strawberry and cheese and then the color starts dancing all around in the air, it's like that. It's so good. It's like a party explosion in your mouth. All of these different types of friendships are good on their own, but when you have a mix of them all in your life, it makes life real sweet. Before we part ways today, I wanted to let you know that I'd really love to hear your best friendship stories. What's the craziest thing you and a friend have done? Who's your oldest friend, and what's great about them? Or even, what do you find most intimidating about making or keeping friends? Drop them in the comments below this video or DM at Church Girl Gang on Instagram. We'll be right back here next week for another podcast, but before we end, I just want to read to you one verse from Proverbs 18:24. It says, A man that has friends must show himself friendly. And there is a friend that sticks closer than a brother. And that friend is Jesus. So lean into him this week. And until next time, have a great week. And we'll talk to you soon, church girl. Hey, thanks so much for joining us for another episode of Church Girl Gang. If you enjoyed listening to this and want to help us grow the gang, be sure to leave a 5-star review on whatever platform you are listening on. If you're on YouTube right now, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss an episode. You can connect with the Church Girl Gang and say hello on Facebook or Instagram, and also feel free to connect with me personally on all social media platforms. All you have to do is search at Kenzie Carisse, or you can head to kenziecarisse.com for more content just like this. Bye.